Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Not Natural Ones.
Wah, wah.
This episode is called Blake and Matt Are Always Right. And when we first started doing Natural Ones, a big thing was that we wanted this to be kind of like an educative experience.
Yeah, part teaching, part adventure.
And we have been woefully not unprepared, but lacking in the teaching department. Honestly,
well, I figured since Joe was new, it was going to be, we'll teach him and the players, but he's kind of picked it up faster than.
Well, yeah, he's also playing like 4 fucking games at once, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, so really, if you're looking to point a finger because you don't know how to play D&D, it's Joe's fault. Please leave comments.
Rise up as one.
Yes, against Joe, the clever barbarian. Okay, now, just, quick plugs for everything is, once again, if you ever need to get a hold of us, you want any questions, if they're game specific, or if you want them to be answered on Blake and Matt Are Always Right, email us at naturalones@zombie-popcorn.com or at naturalonesdm on Twitter. And then we also have the Facebook page.
Yep, Natural Ones Podcast.
Yes.
I believe it's Natural Ones Podcast. Just type that into the search bar, or just look for. We never gave our last names, and I don't plan to.
Yeah,
so just
exactly.
look for Natural Ones Podcast in Facebook. Like us. We have a. Do we want to talk about the?
Well, we have the one contest going where as soon as we hit
bag of dice.
Yeah, the bag of dice.
Bag of dice.
As soon as we hit 200, 200 followers, we're gonna do a bag of dice giveaway. So, it's not a 1 in 100 chance to 1 in 200, which is.
It'll be a little less since we're not giving it to ourselves.
Well, yeah, I guess
we've got enough dice.
Anyway, you have not a great chance, but a pretty good chance of winning a bag of dice and some signed artwork from either myself or Joe. And we're both classically trained artists, which means we are snobs.
If you want something that you would sort of feel bad about putting on the fridge, request me to draw for you, Blake, least artistic of the group.
If you want something that's going to make your kids feel good about their own lacking art skills, we'll get you Blake. That's why
I'll sign it with my foot.
So, art, bag of dice, expertly blessed. We'll
if it goes well, we'll have more giveaways.
Yeah,
we'll
exactly.
Have more chances for you to get free stuff.
And the cool thing about this is, there's no real rush for it. I mean, we're still a fledgling podcast.
Fledgling podcast.
There we go. He's a word guy. But I mean, we've only got, I think, as of
15 or 16.
As of recording right now, today is
the 16th,
Monday,
18th?
the 18th of June,
2012.
For all you future listeners
and past listeners, if they have a time machine.
Yeah, exactly. But we only have 16 episodes up right now, so I mean we're still pretty new to this game. So we're not terribly worried about getting 200 people right off the bat. We'd love it, but we've gotten used to disappointment.
It's what I feed off of words. Anyway.
I know that you guys didn't tune in to listen to me and Blake whine about how we're not where we want to be in life.
We'll set that podcast up next week. Blake and Matt are always whining.
Blake and Matt are always sad.
We got a podcast.
God, it fit right in with the zombie popcorn thing too.
You could see the tears.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Anyway, plugs out of the way.
All right, so all that. Oh, and there's also the new release of Natural Ones podcast at blogger.com. Blogspot.com. Is it Blogspot? I thought it was Blogger.
Anyway. I double check. I always ignore that part. But basically, while Matt checks that out, it is an account of, if you've been following, we've met a wizard named Kevis, who is a rather rambunctious wizard. But he takes plenty of notes, and the website we're going to double check for you.
Blogspot, I was right. No, wait, you said Blogspot.
I win!
Damn it.
Why did I follow for that? I said it. But basically, it's an account of everything Kevis has decided to record in this world of magic and mayhem.
Yep, so I mean, it's pretty neat. It's kind of one of those things where, and this is me being, a loser, and we'll talk about this later, but there was a lot of information I came up with that never got used just because of the way that the party is. And
you're welcome.
And this is a way for me to kind of like put it on there and kind of expand the whole Natural Ones universe as a whole, and at the same time like have not wasted hours and hours of my life.
On another note for that, also, it's also for all of you DMs out there, you don't have to exactly follow what the book says. If you want your dwarves and gnomes or whatever who they hate, the elves.
Mm.
If you want your dwarves and elves to make dwarf elf babies in your campaign, go for it. That's what part of this is you crafting your world.
Exactly. But while we're talking about what things is, what is this? This is going to be us talking to you about what you need to play D&D. Be it, today is going to be finding a game, starting a game, and then, eventually we're going to end up into, more like philosophical, like what makes a good story, how do you keep your characters going, how do you role play.
Good ways to deal with problem players.
I fire them.
Well, if you're
you're fired, Blake.
If it's not you did it here on my anniversary of being fired from the other thing.
I was 2 days away from retirement.
I'm far too old for this stuff.
Okay, so like we were saying, this is just going to be the pretty basic setup today. Hopefully you guys will enjoy this. If you do, please leave a comment.
If you don't, leave comments.
Yeah, anything.
We're not picky.
Please, we need attention. We're doing this because we're lonely people. All right, so today's going to be about what you need to get started. Pretty basic information to start off with. I wouldn't really expect this to be a real long episode, so don't get real excited and, start a shower or, jerking off or anything. It's probably going to be like 10 minutes.
Don't plan your hour commute to this episode.
Exactly. So Blake, what would you say you would need for the first thing?
If I were to invite someone who had never played before and wanted to get into D&D, I would tell them, ideally, get your own dice, pencil and paper, scrap paper if you wanted to. I know you don't see it, but Bob takes notes on everything that we do.
Bob takes copious, crazy people notes.
But again, it's also good to, when Matt says, you're in the city of here and the town of blah, 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 I write that down. So I try to write that down. So later, it keeps you in the role-play mode. So dice, paper, pencil, a winning attitude.
A winning attitude. And a big thing is, you don't think about it, but it's really, really irritating to glom dice off of someone else. It just shows, and it's one of those things where dice are $10. You can go buy a set of pretty nice dice for $10, or you can buy a
huge bag for
it's $20 for a pound, or you can even go in some comic book stores just let you pick them out. They're 20 cents each. So you could
So ideally, I guess dice are easy to get. What you need for sure is a 20-sider, because it's a 20-side system. Really depending on the class you play, but we'll get into that later. You need special dice, but really a 20, 8-side, 6-side, 12-side, 10-side. If you buy a pack of them, it'll come with one of each.
Right, exactly. And and some people, when you get higher into the game, you're going to need 15d6, because it really sucks when you have to roll 15d6 and you do it one at a time, which is what Ashley does.
I was going to say, I'm going to wait and see if you brought it up. See, I deal 1, 5, 7.
It takes forever, and everybody hates that guy. Everybody hates that guy.
Or girl. D&D's for all genders. And shims.
Exactly. We don't discriminate. Okay, anyway, and then you get down to the books. My recommendation is, if you're coming in as a player, all you need is the player's handbook.
It gives you the classes, the characters, the basics on movement and rules, recommendations on how to play a character if you're unsure.
And I'm not gonna lie, the Dungeons and Dragons books are kind of a hefty investment.
Yeah, $34.95.
$34.95. What the hell, Wizards of the Coast? How dare you try to make a profit?
We love you, please.
Yeah, please support.
Give us dollars.
I want all of the Wizards of the Coast money. No, but You know, they're $34.99, but I mean, there are a few books in my collection, and I collect a lot of stupid books. But there are a few books in my collection that I would say get like as much use and as much like information out of as the original, Player's Guide and the Dungeon Master's Guide. There are things like Player's Starter Guide, which you can kind of open up, and it's kind of like a good place to jump on, and it is a little bit cheaper, and it does have some information. And it can also has some they're called modules, which are just like pre-rolled adventures. And we'll get into the issues that I have with pre-rolled adventures later. But I mean, like,
but it gives you the basics.
Yeah, exactly.
It sets you up to go if you're not sure and you have like a group of friends who are like, hey, we should get in D&D, but we don't know anyone who plays already. Like, I know the Red Box is a good way to just like start with like 4 or 5 people, just all new, get you the bare bones. This is that. It's a great way to like find out would I really like to do this on a weekly basis, or in the case of our group, once a month, or with the other group, once and never.
Yeah, I mean that's the other big thing is that especially when you're looking at this as like an investment,
and that's the next thing on our list. What you need for a group, for a good group is people.
Yeah, preferably people with a pulse. Like I've been at a lot of game tables where it doesn't seem like people have that, but it's one of those things where it makes sense to want to play with your friends, and it's kind of like dating. Like you don't date your friends because it never ends out well, and then if some of them look like Blake, it's a lose-lose.
Okay, that's just mean.
It was
uncalled for.
It was meant to be mean, sir.
Oh, well, bravo.
But anyway, so the idea there is
try to find people who would want to get into this. Don't ask your buddy who watches football every Sunday, who can quote all the stats for all of his favorite teams. He's probably more into following his favorite football team than he is in becoming a dwarf that drinks all the time.
I disagree with that because I'm an avid hockey fan. Like I'm a huge.
Okay. If your friend's into real sports.
But once again, the great thing about D&D is that it's all inclusive, and if you can find someone who's like a closet nerd and they want to play, awesome. Like it doesn't matter what they do during the day. My thing is that D&D, a lot of times, especially if you can get super hardcore into it, it's kind of like a lot of people get fucked over in D&D. Like a lot of times people will be like, "Oh my god, you didn't feel like dropping the astral diamond and the 10,000 gold it takes to resurrect my character."
Oh, right.
People get really invested in their characters, and you really got to sit down and be like, are my group of friends so hardcore
that they will hold a grudge over me not taking the arrow that knocked them to 0 hit points?
Or negative bloodied. I mean, and it's just one of those things where it's know your friend group,
And again, try to there's something for everyone. If your buddy is like, oh man, I can't wait to just slay all these dragons, it's going to be a Minotaur thing. If you want to be a Minotaur, but he's like gung-ho for it, let him go for it. You be a something smaller and less bleedy.
Yeah, exactly.
Drawing less blood.
And I mean, and that kind of brings us into the idea of like-minded player groups. Like Blake was talking about, there's some guys who are in there just for the fact that they kind of see D&D as almost like a video game. And the fact that it's like, oh man, I got to go in here and I got to get the high score and I have to kill this dude and I have to do this. And that's fine. Like some people, are very, very video game minded. Whatever. If that's the type of group that you want to play with that type of group. If you're going to go into a role playing situation, it can be very, very frustrating with that type of character. Like just as a heads up, some people think very tactily. Some people think of it as an interactive story, and some people just want to go in and be the most badass dwarf barbarian they can possibly be. But all of these things can conflict with one another. So I mean, it's one of those.
Because I think I've seen before somebody who, I'm pretty sure we've played with people who we're trying to get into a character, trying to be, how would this character respond in this situation? Would he, he probably would not support this. But then the other guy's like, where's the fight? I just want to fight him. Let's fight him.
Yeah. Or, I mean, one of the things that I've noticed, and I refuse to play with them now, is rules lawyers.
Oh, yeah. Who, that'd basically be, if hit somebody for a slide and try to move them sideways, if you hit someone with a slide, they just go straight away.
Right.
They would start freaking out and...
Like, a good part of D&D is being able to roll with whatever. And the rules, like, they're worded in a specific way where a lot of them can be like, oh, is it meant to be like this? Is it meant to be like that? And, I mean, you know, it's just one of those things where you kind of have to go with it. Blake has a specific rule.
Like, well, I mean, when I played my dwarf that, if you've been following, we talked about Nostalgia a few episodes ago, and I had a move called Cleave, hit one weapon plus strength modifier damage, and an enemy adjacent to you takes damage equal to your strength modifier. I think for a long time, I couldn't keep track of it, and we kept doing a different number whenever I'd cleave through to somebody else.
I think originally when it was in like 3.5, it was like cleave and then like an adjacent monster takes damage, and one of the things was like, is it adjacent to you and it takes damage, or are you like doing like the follow through, like you're cutting a guy and it goes into another guy, or
like now they specified enemy adjacent to you, but for a while it was just enemy adjacent, and like the rules lawyer will fight tooth and nail to see that what they see is right, when really it's a game.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's the thing, is that, like, once again, you know, we talk about people that, you know, people hate that guy. People hate that guy. Like, don't be that guy. No one likes playing with that guy. God, what was it? We were playing, it was a module that Bob, also known as Keyleth, who talks, oh, God, I can't do it, my voice.
Talks like this when he's not here. But anyway.
So he was DMing this thing, and we were playing with two other gentlemen. And I think that because, like, the rules lawyering and the fighting and all that stuff, like, you know, it probably took us, God, like, 4 sessions to get through, like, half a dungeon.
Basically, there's pros and cons to the module. Pro is you don't need a lot of setup time. If you're just looking to slap together a couple encounters, it's great. But that doesn't leave a lot of wiggle room if your party's big on the role play and they're very exploratory and they find something like, what's this do? Oh, it doesn't do anything. What's this do? It doesn't do anything. Because half the fun of D&D is like making stuff up as you go along. With a module, the DM can't really offer a lot of, you know, he doesn't want to break it, but
right, exactly.
It doesn't offer a whole lot of extra space to move around in.
And that kind of brings us back to the next thing is, okay, let's say that you got a bunch of people who, you know, you want to play. None of you have really played D&D, and you decide that you want to be the DM, which I personally think that if you're trying to get a game started, it's always smarter to be the volunteer to be the DM. Because chances are, 9 times out of 10, nobody else is going to want to be the DM because it's a lot of work.
It really is.
It's so much fun, like when you start getting like deeper into it. And, you know, second is that, you know, a lot of times what ends up happening is you'll DM for a little while, and then you'll find people want to DM. They want to add their voice into everything, which means that you get to take a break and, you know...
They get to try it out, see how it is, and if they like it enough, you've got a weekly party that... where you got a couple people who can switch being DM.
Yeah, I mean,
which means you get more flavor in the adventure.
It's you know, it's a lot of fun to do kind of like a round robin DM thing, like where you have one DM, and like let's say you meet up one week and you do your thing, you do your dungeon run, and then later you decide, oh okay, you know, Bob wants to DM. Some people do like same universe, same everything, same story, and just have it fit into that. And just kind of get everything kind of okayed, which can be messy sometimes. But I mean, like, it's still it's a lot of fun. Like it. But anyway, so if you want to be a DM, you're gonna need a player's handbook, because no matter what, you can unless you're gonna.
It has the basic rules.
Yeah, exactly. It has the basic rules, and a lot of it too is it's easy and smart to always have more than one player's handbook just kind of there, just so it's available.
Because if you know, we have the ability to pause our games and check this stuff. But if you're meeting like the one time a month that you get off from work and you're hanging with your buddies, you don't want to spend 10 minutes listening to flip, 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 flip. All right. Slowed means like it'd be nice to have more than one, so multiple people, whoever finds it first. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we do that a lot on the podcast too, because everybody I play with is a cheater.
Heyo.
But so I mean, like, and not only that, but you're also going to need to buy a Dungeon Master's Guide. And what the Dungeon Master's Guide has is it has some general rules that are important to Dungeon Masters. And it just helps you out with like building traps and setting up and how to actually be a good DM. Right now we're looking at the contents and just things that it has in general, like combat encounters. What exactly makes a good combat encounter? How do you set up experience? This is all stuff that once you have a player's guide, you need to expand on with the Dungeon Master's Guide. Because the player's guide is more like, how do I build a character? How do I do this? How do I do that? Whereas the Dungeon Master's Guide is like, this is how you kill those characters your party just created.
Or how to give them a rich, full adventure that they can tell their friends about later.
No, that's stupid.
Oh,
you. But I mean, and that's one of those things where, once again, it's an investment. Like already, you're $70 in the hole. There are there are book like things that you can get. I think it's like the player's guide,
like the PDFs or
no, like the PDFs were like originally released because Wizards of the Coast was like, hey, it'd be a good idea, and then they were like pirated like crazy. But there's like guides or like packs of 3 that you can buy off like Amazon.
Oh right, yeah. And that comes with the Dungeon Master Guide, Player Handbook 1, and the Monster Manual, right?
Yeah, I think so. And like once again, and I'm back to the red box and the starter kits and stuff like that. That's a good place to start because it has like a little pamphlet with all the basic rules. It kind of has a module that lets you get into it, lets you try everything out, and then it kind of just sets you up to succeed in that.
And it's made to where if you build, it lets you choose between I think like wizard, fighter, cleric, and
this is the red box
and rogue. If you pick a human fighter and you really like him, you can easily just transport him to a regular game. If you decide to go beyond the red box, you can keep your human fighter Trogdor and just keep. I couldn't think of a fake name. Just keep slaying goblins and kobolds.
How is Trogdor gonna burninate the countryside if he's a warrior?
I guess he should be a dragonborn fighter with not ice breath.
A wizard.
Wizard.
All right, so that brings us to the next thing. What else are you gonna need as a dungeon master? Well, you are gonna need the monster guide. The monster guide is pretty self-explanatory. It's a guide of monsters. Really, if I have to break this down anymore, you probably shouldn't be playing D&D. But I mean, like, it's literally just a book that has monsters in it, has it all set up. We've apparently lost mine. But and it breaks them down by level, it breaks them down by class, and it lets you kind of see like how they would work, which I think is one of the most valuable things because it's really easy to be like, okay, the skeleton comes into the room and he stabs your barbarian. Oh, there's a wizard over there. Never mind, it goes against that. But what the player's guide tells you is that, like, certain things, like wolves, for example, and it's just off the top of my head, wolves will always attack in packs.
Yeah, so like it'll help you. The monster manual basically also tells you, like, you want to use wolves. It also tells you how the wolves would behave, and that helps the players get into the role play, because it's going to be kind of weird going like you see a pack of wolves, roll initiative, the wolves all separate and attack each one. Like, wait a, that's not wolf behavior. Right,
like it's wolf behavior to take down the biggest guy first because he's going to be the threat. It doesn't necessarily like recognize that, oh wow, that wizard in the back, we should probably go after him. And it's really easy as a DM.
Turns into metagaming.
Yeah, exactly. It's really easy to metagame as a DM. Probably easier than it is as a player because as a DM you know everything that's going to happen. So it's really, really easy to to get into that scenario.
But the monster manual basically helps you keep in character for the monsters.
Exactly. Basically. And that's a big thing, is if you want your characters to be in character or your players to be in character for you, you're going to have to be in character for them. I mean, that's just how you...
It's a give and take.
Yeah, exactly. It's a give and take, and it's how you keep the story going. Now, the other downside of being a DM, not only have you just blown, like, $100 in books...
All your drug money.
All the meth. Which, and they're completely worth it, in my opinion.
The meth?
Yeah, the meth. The books,
This is why I can't let you watch Breaking Bad.
So, you've dropped $100 in books. And now you basically get to be a teacher. Like, you need to have extra pens, you need to have extra character sheets, you need to have extra pencils, because I guarantee you, someone at your party is going to forget. I think that we've played, like 8 games with Bob, and I think he just started bringing his dice.
But now Andrew always needs a pencil. But again, if you get it comes back to the group, if you get a good group together, I've always got pencils ready, so Matt doesn't have to worry about the pencils.
And I mean, the other thing is, it's really, really, really tempting to lash out at your players for being a dumbass. Be like, "Oh, I didn't know that I was gonna need dice," and it's not worth it. Like, I keep a fishbowl filled with dice because, like I said, you can buy a pound of them online. I'm not particularly connected to any of them because I bought a fucking pound of dice online.
You did stop sleeping with them in your bed. That's a big step forward.
Exactly. So I mean, like, buy extra dice. Just so you have them. Don't give people crap about it because, like, you don't want to get that reputation of being a dick DM. The whole idea is to have fun. Even if you do a TPK, I've had
total party kill.
Total party kill. Excuse me. Like, I've had a TPK happen before, and hated it because I hated the DM and the guy was a dick and he was a huge asshole. And I've also had a guy who came up and he did TPK. He killed us. We didn't stand a chance. He wiped the floor with us. But, like, he was such a genuinely nice guy, and he played it so well. I was like, you know what? This works. Like, and that's what I'm going to remember, is I remember the good DM experience, and I also remember the really bad one. And which one am I going to want to be? Yeah, I'm going to want to be the bad one.
If you would stop wearing that wizard's hat.
Never. It's mine. All right. And a battle grid. Like,
oh, yeah, good call.
Everybody, like, when they first start off, people make the same issue, and I find it very, very common. Like, they get graph paper, and they're like, okay, I'm going to mark it off into, like, 10 or 1-inch squares and make it, like, it's like 10 by, like, 17 or something, hopefully.
Right.
Pain in the ass. Because every time you're going to have to throw that away and then redo it, redraw it. They sell battle mats that you can take a magic marker to, or like an expo marker to, draw one, just shoot it down with some Windex after you're done, erase it, and that way not only is it a better idea because you don't have to keep wasting time setting up each encounter, but it's bigger. Like
you get more room to play in if you have especially if your players choose characters that have big area of effect spells or have to move around a lot. It's more fun to have like a huge coliseum versus a tiny study.
Right.
Matt doesn't do tiny studies. He does big studies.
Well, you're a wizard. You want to flaunt that shit.
But basically, it gives you more room to play. Makes your players go like actually strategize. Oh, I should use this fireball over here, as opposed to I'm going to use a fireball. Everyone heal up.
And that's kind of thing too. Like the character Charlie Foe would not work in a 11 by 17 area. It just wouldn't happen because I mean, like, you got to think. Okay, you open up a room and you may have a bar room. Half that room's probably filled with furniture, and then you're going to have to put your party on there, and then you're going to have to put your enemies on there. That means that you have a limited amount of space to kind of run around and do your thing. Whereas if you have a battle map and you're like, okay, instead of this bar room, you have a town, and you have I think the one that we're using currently is like 24, about 36 by 24 inches, and it's huge. Like that's 2 feet by 3 feet easily, and it's pretty clever design. If I don't mind, bragging myself. What it is it's a
2.5 by 3, yeah.
2.5 by 3 feet, but this thing probably cost maybe $6 to make. What we did was we went to a hardware store, got a piece of plexiglass, and I mean they'll cut it for you. You just tell them what size you want, and then we went to our local gaming shop. Atlanta.
They sell rolls. They sell rolls of the graph paper made to fit your D&D character.
Right. It's 1-inch graph paper, and then we just literally taped it onto the bottom of this. I can draw right on the plexiglass. Don't have to worry about it. Cleans up real easy. But
super thin, fits behind a sofa or a shelf.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, real easy to do. Something that you don't normally think of, but that's why we're here. And we talked a little bit about having character sheets. It's always recommended to have extra ones, not necessarily of your characters, but just in case someone dies and they want to roll up a real quick character again, or let's say you guys level up and you guys want to, take care of this, but someone wrote in pin on their thing or something.
And
or even
to go along more with the always say yes method of DMing, which I've always been a fan of. If it's your first game and someone's trying a wizard and they're like, well, I don't like this character, you can have have a fighter ready or something like that.
Yeah.
So they can go, oh, well, let's try this and see if I like it.
And I mean, like, this entire episode sounded like one giant advertisement for Wizards of the Coast. But I mean, when you really get down to it, not anybody else you're going to be able to buy legitimate Dungeons and Dragons stuff from.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, also
if you really want, go to Craigslist or eBay. If you're worried about saving money, go to a flea market. Just.
See, I'm always kind of weird about that, and and the reason why is because like it's kind of like the whole GameStop thing. I was a GameStop manager for ever,
ever years.
But when you buy something used from GameStop, you're not giving money to like EA. You're giving money to GameStop. Like they're just the in between. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you buy something new from GameStop is getting a percentage of the money, and then EA is getting a percentage of the money. When you buy something used, EA, or GameStop's just getting like 300% profit. It's the same thing with like trade, like swap meets and stuff like that. Where if you like D&D and you want to see more D&D stuff, pay for it. Pay for it first. Like buy it from Amazon. Buy it from your local bookstore, which I think there's just Barnes and Noble now or whatever who carries them.
If you're in a cool area, the occasional very small local place.
Oh, if you could
even some gaming shops have them. The place that we got the Grid, they have them.
I mean, and that's it, by all means support local game shops because God knows there's not enough good ones anymore.
Because one of the last things you need to get started is a place to play.
Yeah.
If you live in a studio apartment with 4 other people and the 3 others don't like D&D, and that's the only place you can play, you might want to get in good with your local game shop. Say, hey, you got these tables back here. Mind if we play here once in a while?
Yeah. Or I mean, and before I got off into the tirade about buying from local and buying new.
You do love your tirades.
It's true. I'm a monster. Number one tool that I've found, and that's just because I have to manage 5 people, Dungeons and Dragons Online, or Dungeons and Dragons Insider, excuse me. Best tool that I've ever had. Not only is it one of those things, you can make maps on it, you level up characters, you can build characters on there, and whenever I make a monster, I actually build it on there and print it out, solely because it just saves a lot of time, it saves a lot of math. It's, $10 a month?
10 to 15, I think. I can't remember what you were telling us.
And I think it's like it's $60 for like a year if you buy the bundle. Which I mean,
that's not bad.
Yeah, if you have a group of friends who are like, hey, yeah, I'll chip in like $5, and you have your average group has 5 people in there. And
a good sized group is like 4 to 5.
Yeah,
because then we'll cover it later, but you get all the roles covered.
Yeah, so I mean, like and that's one of those things where just having that has saved me so much time and so much headache. Mm-hmm. That I can actually work on the story a little bit more rather than, I have to do this, I have to do that. And it's also really easy because when one of these D-bags gets a magical weapon, I honestly just plug it right into their system. Like I just load up their character sheet, plug in the item, and then that way next time we play they can just print it right off. I let them know what the stats are so they can have it if we're going to continue recording. But for the most part, it's just easier done that way. So.
But yeah, and again, would you say they could just do the account and not have to worry about the books, or would you recommend having the books on hand since it's nice to have a reference?
I like having the reference of the books because one of my big things is, and the rule for this podcast has been no laptops at the table, with the exception of myself. And that's because if you have people online all the time, logging into stuff, looking around, inevitably you're going to have that one guy who's on Facebook and misses his turn, and that guy's a dick, and don't be that guy. We should just name this "Don't Be That Guy" instead of "Like and Matt are always right."
Every episode we have something that you do not do.
Don't be that guy. But I mean, like,
but generally, it's just too easy to go to a social network and lose yourself in an internet video like if Ashley's like trying to figure out how to topple the 3 spiders that are coming at us, and I get bored and go, I'll check my Facebook. Yeah. I won't see what's happening. I have to take more time assessing the situation. She killed 2 spiders. Like, well, I was going to kill that one. Since I wasn't involved, I missed out on the planning.
Exactly. And you know what? You're already doing a social game. So, I mean, you know, like, amazingly...
Everyone who matters is there.
Yeah, exactly. Once you play D&D, no one else matters. But, I mean, I think that's pretty much it for what you need to get started.
Yeah, quick overview. Ideally, the books. For sure, paper, pencil.
Character sheets.
Place to play. At least 3 to 4 friends.
Oh, and the one thing that I forgot, because I'm an idiot, is
Yay.
If, let's say you're a friendless person, like you move into a new area, all the kids beat you up at school, none of them want to play D&D with you.
If you say it here, why would I publish my book?
Every Wednesday, go down to ye old local gaming shop, and chances are they do something called D&D Encounters. And that is basically, it's a pre-made game that the owner of the shop or one of the employees is going to run. And it's like 5 people and they all have pre-generated characters. But it's a good place to kind of test the waters, and it's free.
Yeah.
And it's a blast if you get a good party. Even if you don't, you get a feel for the game. And
you might meet people who are into other stuff that you're into.
Exactly. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, I doubt you're going to find true love because it's mostly sweaty dudes in my experience. If you're into that, more power to you.
If that's your thing.
But, I mean, like, it's one of those things where it's a great way to meet a gaming group.
And maybe one of those sweaty dudes has a hot sister.
Yeah, there we go.
Boom! Or a hot brother if you're female or a gay guy listening.
Yeah, I mean, you know, whatever.
Again, we don't exclude unless it's fun.
Yeah, wait. All right. So, dice, group, player's handbook, paper and pencil, not a paper pencil, that'd be useless to you. Battle grid, character sheets, and all the assorted books and D&D Insider, and bring beverages because it gets sweaty sitting. I seen Joe get out of breath, I swear to God.
Well, you know, it's some heavy dice you're giving him.
Yeah, that's true. But anyway, thanks for listening to the first Matt and Blake Are Always Right. I just burped. I'm going to edit that out, I hope. I remember. Thanks for listening to the first Matt and Blake Are Always Right. As always, we hope that you guys hit us up at Naturalones at zombie-popcorn.com. Like us on Facebook at Naturalones Podcast. Or hit us up on Twitter at NaturalOnesDM. And we hope you guys have fun playing. We need a really witty slogan for the end of these or something.
Ba-dum-bum, ba-dum-bum. D&D.
Wow.